Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Live to Roll channel. I'm your host for the day, Brianna Wheeler, and we're back with another women's disability show. Today's topic, we're going to talk about just family ableism. With the holidays coming up, we have to deal with a bunch of family members, and it can be a little bit stressful, especially the ones that you don't always see, and then the ones that you do always see. So we're going to get into it, talk about our experiences, talk about our do's and do nots, and kind of also how to center ourselves when we are dealing with somebody who just isn't going to get it, and we need to find a way to end that conversation or a little affirmation to remind ourselves that we got this. So we're going to kind of discuss each of our experiences, our journeys, and our tips and tricks. So if you guys have any, feel free to add them in the chat along the way. We will read them and share your advice as well. Okay, so let's start with introductions. I'm Brianna, and I was shot 6 years ago. I'm a T12, and I am from Los Angeles, California. Let's go to Nikki.
Oh, shit. I'm Nikki, and this is Ashley. I was injured in March of 2019. We're twin sisters. Yeah, we were injured together. You heard it before. And I'm a T6 paraplegic.
C4 quad.
And from Chicago.
Woohoo! Okay, let's go to Jessica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jessica Brito. I'm C7 incomplete. I've been injured 12 years now, and I'm in California.
Thank you. That painting is so gorgeous behind you.
Thank you. I got it off someone on
Hey, and let's
That one's kind of cool.
Hey y'all, I'm Maya. I am a C5, C6 incomplete quadriplegic, and I got injured in 2018 due to gun violence. And I am from Illinois, but just most recently moved to Los Angeles.
Wow! I love that for you. Okay. So let's get into our questions. So the beginning, we're kind of just going to talk about what our tics are when it comes to our family members, maybe an experience that we had. I feel like when I think about this, it kind of goes back to like when I was first injured, that I was more triggered by these things, especially during holiday gatherings. So let's see what the girls have to say. So let's go to Jessica. So what do you feel like your tics are when it comes to your family members, or when you get into those group gatherings? Do you have like an experience that really did tick you off, or anything specific?
I think that for me, the thing that gets me sometimes is maybe like when I go to family members' homes where it's a little more inaccessible. When it comes to my house, what irritates me is like, I think because I'm Mexican, and in the Latino community, a lot of times they think they're being helpful, which I mean, I guess that's a lot of communities, but by doing things for you. And I think I've gotten better at just saying, I got this. Don't tell me what I can and can't do. But at the beginning, it was more like, I think I was actually more accepting of people helping me at the beginning. And then as I became more independent, it bothered me more. Like, I feel like, don't hover on me, don't help if I'm not asking, like, especially my mom, which is funny because she was my full-time caregiver and she lets me be independent, but sometimes she forgets how much I can do now because we don't live together, and she'll try to jump in, and I'm like, oh, get away from me. I'm very like reactive, and then I go, I'm not trying to be mean, just I got it, but I think for me that was a big thing, that the people that met me when I was like very limited, where I hadn't really figured out my body yet, and who now along the road will still try to jump in as much as they used to, like that irritates me sometimes. And just being in places that aren't as accessible.
Yeah, I definitely can relate. I feel like it's almost a reminder to me how much those people aren't in my lives, and that's kind of what frustrates me too, because it's like, I do this every day, like, what do you mean, what am I going to do if you're not here? I'm going to do the same thing I do every single day, and it's like a little bit frustrating. So I can definitely relate. That's a big trigger. What about you, Ashley and Nikki? What are your triggers when it comes to family members or family gatherings? We're gonna start calling on you guys individually, huh?
For real.
Put that in
We are.
separate.
Right.
Okay.
What are some of your triggers?
I guess. I don't know. That's why I wanted you to first how you thought of it.
I didn't. I don't know. It's interesting. I think we got injured in 2019, and then there was the panorama, and I don't feel like. Well, YouTube be flagging. I I feel like we haven't really gone around family. When we have, it's been like more backyard parties and stuff like that. And
What are the ticks?
yeah, I don't know if I have really any ticks. I don't know.
Do you
I'm
think
paid
for helpers
like.
or people that just leave you guys alone?
I'm sorry. What was that?
Do you feel like your family like over hovers on you guys, or do they just kind of leave you alone when you're struggling? Like, do you have those moments like where you're struggling and you wish they would help, or do you feel like they're like overbearing and they don't really know what you're capable of?
I feel like sometimes probably don't know like what we're capable of, for sure. Like, set a lot of limits on us, maybe intentionally. Yeah.
Yeah, that can be frustrating for sure. They have like the limitations kind of in their head, and if you're not strong enough, especially in the beginning, it makes you doubt yourself because you're like, wait, can I do this? You know, like, is it possible? Then along the way, I think it just becomes more angry when you believe in yourself more and the people that that are supposed to care for you don't believe in you as much as you believe in yourself, you know, especially when you have to use all of your freaking power to just have that belief and hope, you know. Uh, yeah, that can be pretty crazy. Okay, what about you, Maya? Do you have any tics when it comes to family members? Do you have to deal with any of that, or you have any experiences where you're kind of like triggered, especially being a quad? What's that like?
Yeah, so for me, when it comes to people doubting what I can do and then also like not helping or letting me struggle, it's kind of a both and, right? Because a lot of these family gatherings are family members that aren't around me every day, and they don't really understand what I can do. They see some things on social media, but social media is social media, and they're not living with me and experiencing what I'm going through and growing with me as I grow into my life as a disabled woman. So I think some of the things that irritate me the most are, when people ask me if I need help with little tasks. Like I'll be sitting there, drinking my water bottle, and Nana, if you're watching this, God bless you. I love you so much. Please do not be upset. But those type of things bother me because it's like I drink water constantly. Like I am one thirsty person. Like, and this is not something that I need your help with, and there are also instances during the holidays when family members try to encourage me to do something that I may know I can't do at this moment, or that I don't feel like spending energy on attempting because I need to save my energy to talk to y'all family members. You know what I mean? Like we have to set those boundaries and pick and choose. And so when those things aren't respected for me, it really like irritates me.
Yeah, for sure. Those are like, it's hard boundaries to make because, of course, you don't want to hurt their feelings too, you know, and so it comes off a little bit as frustration or bitchy, you know, and it puts us in a tight spot, you know, kind of explaining our capabilities and where we're at. So that leads us into like kind of family do's and do nots. Like, if you're thinking about a newly injured person that's coming home right now, they're going to go around their family members for the family gatherings. Like, what advice would you give to their family members that are watching this? Like, do's and do nots that really do help us during those situations. So that's kind of what we're going to try to dig a little deeper into. So for me, I think it's the best not to first come off and ask about physical therapy. For me, that's another tick. Like, I don't want the conversation to just be about me walking because that's not all that's going on inside of my life. personally for me. If that's what you're into and that's what you like and that's what your conversation starter is, great, but also I've had to learn those boundaries of just being like very dismissive when it comes to that. Like, everything's fine, I'm doing my best. Or honestly, I just started telling people I'm not currently trying to walk again. I'm okay. I honestly didn't like walking before. I told that to Tom's sister last time out at her birthday, and she looked at me like with such shock in her face, like, and she's lived with freaking Tom being disabled like forever, right? And she was like, wow, like, I've never heard somebody like kind of state it that way, because it's not that like, okay, if there's a magic pill to make me walk tomorrow, of course, shoot me the magic pill, but at the same time, it's like, it's not my only goal in life. I have other things going on. Like, it's just what it is. And telling them straight out like that, I feel like it's the best. They don't even know what to say after that. It's the best fucking just zipper upper, so that's what I would say about that physical therapy. Jessica, do you have any do's or do nots for family members?
I think it's always, obviously, a big do is ask. A big don't is like just do it for them. It's really irritating if you're trying to do something and they jump in and do it without asking. So the biggest do is ask. The biggest don't is don't jump in and just grab someone. I personally like have a big thing that I don't want to be touched, and it's weird for some people, like if I'm doing a transfer and you want to put your hands on me, I really feel like you're adding your weight to my body and now I'm going to fall. Like, so I don't want your body weight on my weight. And so don't jump in and try to do things for people. Always ask.
Mm-hmm. I agree. Yeah, that's a good boundary to set, especially in the beginning. It's like, don't do without asking. Like, it's a very simple question of, do you need help or may I help you? And it's also kind of observing. It's a struggle, right? It's a new thing for families too. They have to learn what to do and what not to do. They're kind of nervous. They're like, oh my gosh, my loved one's injured. Like, how do I help them? And they don't really mean to be overbearing. It's not coming from a place of hate. It's coming from a place of love, unfortunately. It's just super irritating. um but also just like not doubting them. Let's say like if I transfer onto the couch, I don't want the whole room staring at me and like thinking that what the hell's gonna happen. If I believe in myself, if I'm okay and that's what I want to do, like, let's go on with the conversation. The focus point does not have to be my disability and what amazing things
Need to be a show.
today. Yeah. This isn't a show over here. Go on and eat your apple pie, so I feel like that's really important to discuss. So Maya, do you have any do's and do nots that you would say to family members?
Definitely echoing, the piece where it's ask if they need help, wait for me to ask for help. I am a very vocal person. I will tell you if I need help. I will tell you to get the fuck away from me if I don't need help, but I mean, in a more respectful, polite way, because we're at a family gathering. But another one also is like, be careful of your words, when we're discussing anything that has to do with disability, whether that be my own or someone else's, just be mindful of the way that you're speaking to people using people first language. There's no reason that a disability has to go first, or you don't need to call me differently abled. Like, I am disabled. It is what it is. It's not a bad word. And like, when you treat it that way, sometimes it makes us feel badly about it, or it can create insecurities. And I know that that can be like a tough concept to wrap your mind around when you don't have that experience, of living with a disability yourself. But really just talking to your family members that do have disabilities and asking them how they would like to be treated, asking them what's offensive to them, like their thoughts and their approach, because we're all different. Some of us don't like being called inspiring, and some of us don't mind it, so everyone has their own things that offend them. Everyone has their own personality, and I think that that's a really important piece to keep in mind.
Yes, that's such an important topic. It's like, we're all different. So communication, right? Just asking. I mean, that's the simplest thing that can solve such a big problem. Um, And it just helps us feel better, right? It's so hard to confront somebody without them bringing it at first, right? So let's say they just say a word without saying that, oh, was that offensive to you? It's very hard to stop the conversation and be like, that was offensive. Don't say that, because it kind of comes off as aggressiveness and it can create tension, And so in these situations, I really say for yourself to go in there with an open mind, go in there knowing that you're going to deal with some people that you don't want to, some things you don't want to hear, and you have to make sure that you come up with those responses and you have that inside your head, which we're going to touch on. It's very, very important because you almost get caught off guard. And in these events, I feel like I can be like kind of pushed down like a little bit because I'm not doing as much as everybody else. So I really feel like my energy, my jokes, like everything like that matters. So I don't like when people throw that off for me. And so that's a big problem. Also being just aware of like the pain. Oh shit. Sorry guys, I dropped my phone. Being aware of the pain that they might be in, right? So just because last week I was up cooking dinner or doing something doesn't mean on this day my body's going to feel the same way. I might not be able to stay up as long as before. I might need to take a break and stretch out, like don't make me feel bad for needing to rest, and also don't feel bad yourself. Sometimes you can feel like, dang, like I wish I could just stay up longer and be a part of the party, listen to your body and take that moment to just rest. I'm going to throw that in there. Ashley and Nikki, do you have any more do's and do nots that we didn't touch on?
I think I agree with everything that everyone said. And another one for me, I don't
Especially
know.
the watch like your language, but go ahead, sorry.
For me is like looking at me funny, like when my body does something that makes you uncomfortable.
Stop
Like
asking me what's wrong.
Like
I'm in pain 24/7. That's what's wrong, okay?
But even with that, like if I spasm, I don't need the whole room staring at me until it's done. Like, okay, you saw the random movement, like just there, look away, like do your thing, or let me or continue talking. Like it doesn't have to be this big like
a show.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
That's
I
like
agree. Overly asking what's wrong with us when we're not doing anything.
Annoying.
Yeah, if we're crying in pain, we can ask what's wrong with us. Other than that, we just living, baby. Like this is just life.
Yeah.
I totally feel you. I did one of my body shifts, and my older brother, who's like never around, called me out, and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "What's wrong with you? Like, what do you mean what's wrong with me? Like, nothing's wrong with me. I'm fucking smoking." And he was like, "Why'd you move like that?" And I was like, it's so funny because I've done this for fucking 7 years and nobody has focused, called me out for it. So it's just something I just always do. But in that moment, I felt so embarrassed and kind of on the spot. And I was like, dang, does everybody notice me that much more when I'm doing different stuff like that, especially when they're not around all the time. So it makes me almost not want to do pressure release sometimes. When I'm around a lot of able-bodied people, I kind of try to restrict my body from doing those things, or maybe even taking my feet off the plate, or even when I cross my legs. That's a fucking another big one. When I cross my legs and everybody's just like, oh my God, it's a fucking miracle, how did she do that? What's going on down here? So it just seems so amazing. It's just I'm just trying to release some pressure. I'm just trying to get comfortable, don't look at me like I'm a freak now. So yeah.
That's anyone to Ashley whenever she does a pressure break.
Yeah.
Do you actually a lot of people do stare at you still when you're doing your release in your chair, because you have to go back and stuff? How do you feel about that?
Our dad's answering the question in the background live, guys.
Hey, Dad.
Yeah, that's right.
Did you guys hear that? We're live. Yeah, people definitely stare. I feel like even though they know, right?
Yeah, I feel like people stare at everything I do. Like, man, I know I'm pretty. Jeez. You know what I'm saying?
I love it though, because Ashley's always just chilling too. She'll just be backwards, just chilling.
Right, she won't even be doing a pressure break. She just chilling.
It's funny because
Maya already knows.
I don't know if we're going to talk about this. I can't remember the questions, but it's funny because when you're in a group of people and you're with people that know you, it's hilarious how sometimes I'm not the one that gets mad. It's my people, you know? Like
Mhm.
if someone new is to come over and they're like, "What's wrong with her?" Like my brother would be like, "Nothing's fucking wrong with her." Like, like, but my brother's
Mhm.
like very like my brother's mean, so he doesn't give a fuck. Like he's gonna, nothing's fucking wrong with her, and or one of my cousins was always with me, he'll laugh, and we always make this joke how one time someone asked me what's wrong with me, and we were drinking, so I just in like downtown LA or something, and I was like, "What's wrong with you?" And my cousin could not stop laughing. I couldn't stop laughing, and the guy's like, "You guys shouldn't be acting this way." And we're like, "All right," but like my family will answer for me, like. Or if I'm doing something struggling and someone wants to jump in and my family's there, they're like, "She's fine." Like my
Mhm.
son will do that to people all the time. Like, why would I help her? She's fine. Like,
And I
Or
feel
the
like that's great.
like you're not in the room, like she needs this. Like I just asked for that. I think they heard.
yeah, and then like, yeah, my son gets mad.
I feel like that shows like great communication over the years, right? With the people that are around you. That's what happens when you tell them what you need. Like they know it like the back of their hands, and they know what also bothers you. So they become, of course, offensive over you. I feel like my brothers are definitely like that with my mom. They're very snappy. They're very like let her be. My mom gets very like cradle around me. Like, oh my God, any transfer, any movement, any little thing that I do is like the giant biggest deal ever. And I've just had to accept that that's my mom. That's just what she's gonna do. That's just who she is. There's nothing that I can do that's gonna change it. She's not around me every single day, so I just let her be amazed that one day, and I go about my business, And that's just kind of the mentality that I have to have with certain people inside of my family. So that's leading us to just kind of our affirmations when you're kind of feeling that offensiveness or overwhelmingness, because let's face it, not every day is a good day. So they could catch me on a bad day where I'm been up cooking and I haven't smoked and you say the wrong thing at me and I'm just gonna snap. And I have to remind myself, like, Brianna, don't do that. Don't let them get you out of character. You have to be compassionate and remind them as well. It's a learning process for all of us involved, right? So that's something just to be self-aware about, and something that I have to constantly be telling myself. Oh no, we lost the twins. Hopefully they pop back on. So that's just something that I have to like be really aware of. Like, even if like I do need to smoke, I need to be like open, like, give me a moment. I'm gonna come back to this conversation. You're ableist comment in a moment. I need to go smoke. And just like don't be afraid of saying those things. So Maya, what are some affirmations that you say to yourself, kind of just to put yourself in a check when you're not really trying to have that conversation with them?
So one of my biggest things that I like to tell myself and remind myself is to give grace. Giving grace to myself, to others, and I relate that back to my spirituality for me, because God never gets tired of me messing up, and I am so grateful for that. So I try to remember that and carry that into my life when I'm interacting with other people, and just remembering, like, okay, they may not have experience with this, so I just need to tell them and express how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to setting those boundaries, actually, I just learned this today, that I'm going to be using in the future is like, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to tell you, then I'm going to make you. And so, like, with setting boundaries in these conversations with family, say it's an ableist comment, it would be like, hey, you know what? I would really appreciate, like, that offended me. I would really appreciate if you don't use that again or say that. And if they do it again, like, please don't say that. That's offensive. And then the third time would be like, okay, if you say that, like, I'm leaving now. Like, I'm leaving the situation. And I feel like that is something that will be really helpful, going forward when I experience different issues like this, and being able to like set those boundaries.
Yes, 1,000%. I love that so much. I feel like you're giving your warnings, and you're bringing it up to them. And like, I think it's important to advocate for yourself. Of course, is it uncomfortable? Yeah, but are you just gonna sit there and be disrespected? Of course, after you tell them so many times, then you know where you stand with them. I feel like, but don't just cut it off right away. You have to be open to explaining, especially if they're open to learning. Some people, if you just let them know, oh, I don't want to be called that. I don't mind being called disabled, or I don't mind being called inspirational, or I do mind being called that, this is why. And they keep on doing it, then it's very different, but if they're like, oh, okay, like, no worries, like, I got you, I didn't even know, then, I mean, for instance, I just had a whole conversation with my boyfriend about the term wheelchair bound. And I made him watch the fucking Rolettes Boundless video because I was like, this is why it offends us. Like, and then he was just like, I don't think they mean it in like a bad way. And I was like, of course, but that term, it just has created a boundness, like making us feel like we're bound to our chair when in reality it is an extension of us, And afterwards he completely understood, it wasn't like conversation, but he just in his head didn't get it, in the beginning. He didn't see what the big deal was, so little things like that could just change somebody's perspective. I need to let my dog out. Okay, let's go to Ashley and Nikki. We're talking about affirmations right now. So just kind of what you say to yourself when you're feeling yourself getting overwhelmed, offended, or like actually when you are doing your pressure relief and like somebody's staring at you, what do you say to yourself to not lose your mind?
Well, the first thing I thought of when you asked that was, I am healthy, I am wealthy, I am rich, I am that bitch.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maya said, that's what I say. No. So, I don't know, I just be chilling, like, like Maya called me out on. I just be chilling whenever my pressure breaks. It's my moment.
Big chillin'.
Yeah. Just kind of in my own head.
I think
in my own
like that's
world.
like you have to remind yourself like that I'm
You need
comfortable
those
doing
moments.
this.
Yeah, like I need to take care of my skin.
Yeah, I'm comfortable doing this. Like this isn't. They're uncomfortable. I'm comfortable. They're uncomfortable.
Yeah,
right?
their ableism is making them uncomfortable with my disabled body. Not my problem.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, Brianna, you're on mute.
Oh no.
I'm back. Okay, so a question that I just thought about is, Nikki, do you ever feel yourself getting like protective over at people, over protecting Ashley, or like coming at her a certain way? Like, is she like might be chilling, right there, and you see somebody looking at her and then you get more offended for her? Or how is that like for you? Do you notice it?
I don't know, because I think that I don't know, like it does annoy me sometimes. Like it kind of sometimes makes me laugh, and I think I've told you this before. But Ashley spasms a lot, and like it makes me laugh because people like they're so uncomfortable with it, and I'll be sitting there like she's okay, like. If she needs help with like that leg, she'll ask. Like she's okay, but like start like freaking out, like, and that kind of annoys me. And I've told her that, and I think does that annoy you?
I mean, it annoys me when people ask me what's wrong all the time.
Yeah, and it's like nothing's wrong. It's just how my body moves.
Yeah.
And for me, I guess it annoys me more because I see you spasm more, and I see how people react, like in public, in the places we go, and it's like
people be scared. That's
like
why I was a ghost for Halloween.
Yeah, it's like and then too, I think sometimes people think I'm rude because I'm not doing anything. Right? Don't you do you ever think that? Like they'd be like, damn, like, because I'm sure people have seen me help her before.
Especially when you're like with like someone that's like used to you doing that. People will be like, damn, they're mean.
Yeah, and I'm like, yeah, she's okay.
That's because I'm Gucci. My leg just be going through it.
Yeah, I'm sure that can be frustrating, like how people are looking at you too. So what are the affirmations that you tell yourself to like not lose it in that point, Nikki? Like when you're feeling like somebody's judging you right now for not helping Ashley, like what do you tell yourself like to be like, calm down, girl? Like
I think one of my biggest ones is this, like, maybe it's, I don't know if there's so much an affirmation, but just that they're uncomfortable. I'm not uncomfortable. Like, I'm comfortable. They're uncomfortable. Like, I just try to remind myself of that because it can get to you. Like, I'll just be like, they're uncomfortable. I mean, I even see, like, when I, like, be doing errands by myself, how people will, like, stare at me, or, like, I'll constantly get asked, do you need help? Do you need help? And it's like, oh my God, can I just go grab, like, an extra toothbrush by myself? Man, like, with, like,
Extra toothbrush.
I don't know. I don't know why I said that, but you know. And, like, I just have to tell myself, like, they're uncomfortable. Like, I'm just, like, living my life. And I do remind myself that, like, people, like, disability isn't viewed a lot because a lot of times we do isolate ourselves. So people are going to be, like, a little stunned and
Yeah.
surprised when they see, especially when they see two of us just, like, navigating the world on our own. Like, with no other able-bodied person near sight. They're, like, probably concerned. I don't know what they're thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a great thing to remind yourself. You don't know what they're thinking. If they're not saying something to you, you don't know what they're thinking. You're making it up kind of in your head, which is not fair to do, because in reality, they don't know what you're thinking either, and you don't know what their experiences are in life. They could have never seen a disabled person ever, and like, I've never had a lot of encounters with people inside of chairs before I was injured. Like, I didn't know anything about this life. I probably used terms that
Exactly.
didn't make sense, and so I'm very big on education. I feel like a lot of people in our community are comfortable with educating younger kids. They're always like, don't pull your kid away, like, let's talk to them. But they don't realize that grown-ups are kind of just kids that never got that experience. They never learned. There are people that refuse to learn and don't understand it. Don't get me wrong, but there's just like, you have to make sure that you are leveling it out in your head. I feel like a bit. Hello, everybody in the chat. JJ, Mac, Roy, Juan. Thank you guys for joining. You are here and you have any advice or experiences, feel free to throw them in. We're talking about tips and tricks of dealing with ableist family members, or kind of what we do to get through those days. So that's what we're talking about. So Jessica, did I ask you affirmations? I don't think so.
No. So for me, I think I just remind myself. So I think earlier on in my injury, or actually maybe it depends on my mood, but I've noticed that when you don't let people help you, they get really uncomfortable. And I've just gotten to the point where I, like everyone said, right? Like, I understand they're uncomfortable and I'm okay with that. So I've gotten really comfortable with people not being comfortable. And it's funny what Nikki said, because all my friends, like, they all say it, because they all end up in the situation when they will say, like, oh, everyone thinks we're such assholes because you won't let us help you. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care how many people think you're an asshole, or like, they get mad because I'm just annoying, or I'm just being a bitch, and they think, like, they're like, people probably think we're horrible because we're here arguing with you. And I'm like, I'm just a normal person. I don't care what people think about you. Like, and I just remind myself, like, you know what? I'm uncomfortable often. So if you're going to be uncomfortable, then I'm fine with it. Like, you'll live, So I just remind myself of that a lot. Like, it's okay to make people uncomfortable. It's okay to offend people. It's okay to make people mad. I mean, I don't think I do it as often, the offending. I know mad, there's like a family member that I always fight with, but she's crazy, so it's okay. Everyone fights with her. But I think for the most part, yeah, it's letting people be uncomfortable.
I love that. Sorry, my dog was scratching up her. Yes, that is an important one, like letting them be uncomfortable. I think also something else that made me think about that is like when they're treating you a little bit like they're so used to you, right, that they almost forget that you're disabled. So I feel like that is also a problem that I'm running in now too, further inside of my injury. So it's like, I get it. Like, some days I am strong enough to, like, joke around and like you just be like a little bit more bitchier to me, like, or us be making jokes or like whatever the case may be. But sometimes I do need that extra help, and sometimes I am tired and sometimes I can't do it the same way, or sometimes I just have a UTI and maybe I can't deal with this problem or I'm not as responsive as before. And don't come at me like, why are you being such a bitch? Like, instead, maybe think like, there's a possibility that she could be tired, she could be in pain, she could have a UTI, she could have 10 million other things going on wrong with her body at the moment. I think that that's an important thing to remind yourself too, as somebody who's always around somebody who's disabled, because the reality is that
I'll say this, that for me, like, and I do this with my clients a lot too, is I warn my family. Like, I don't care what it is. Like even if I'm on my period, like I'm like, I will announce it. Like, hey, I'm on my period, so if you want to fuck with me, like, just know, like, this is not.
I'm taking violence today.
Or like, and I tell my clients, like, please let people know ahead of time that you might be in a, even like what I say it to my clients. Like, if I have a UTI and I get to session late, I'll say I'm moving slow today. So I just know that today we're moving slow. Like, and I do that to family. I do that to friends. Like, okay, today I need extra help. Like, I'm not having a good day. And I think I've gotten so comfortable with announcing these things that no one gets as offended because they already know, and I had to be very mindful, specifically with my child, Luckily he's a teenager, but he's with me all the time, right? And so I have to be very mindful because he's, like I said, right? Like, he's very much like, my mom's got it, why would I help her? That I have to be like, hey, today is not the day you're helping me. And he's like, oh shit, okay,
Yeah.
But he will say, like, oh, I don't know, I didn't know, I'm sorry, and I'm like, no, I don't.
Yeah, that's true, because you get into the routine where it's like, don't help me, don't help me, don't help me, and then all of a sudden you need help, like, and so it's important to like announce those things or like say that you might be a little bit more weaker or whatever the case may be. I think that is important. I deal with my younger brothers and they just can be very much boys, teenagers in that aspect and just not really care. And me and Cage were getting into it about how he pushes me. So for the longest time, he would just come up and just start shoving me. And he just thinks it's like the most funniest thing for me to be like, oh my God, going all over the place. And he's just like, I'm helping you. At the end of the day, I'm helping you. And I'm like, you need to understand, like, that it jerks my body, that it hurts, that I'm not ungrateful for the help, but I need a warning, And like, it honestly wasn't until he saw Tom's mom and the way that Tom's mom like was pushing me and she was going over a bump and she told me, little bump. I've talked about this moment before. And she told me like, little bump. And like, I was like, that was so nice of you to do. Like, I don't know why my family refused to do this for me, but I felt like so fucking just like she just knew, and then after that, Cage, of course, like, kind of got it. He still makes a little bit fun of me, but it's fine. He'll be like, okay, I'm gonna grab you, little bump, or he'll be like, big bump, and he'll just like grab me, and I'm like, oh,
I love cash money.
yeah, I'll take it. I'm like, whatever. But it's a learning process. He wasn't around me for a long time. I just kind of saw him in spurts of him growing up with my disability. And now all of a sudden he's with me full time, and he sees very different sides to me. So, yeah, it's just being vocal about what you want. And this goes for able-bodied people too. I feel like we're just not.
Yeah, I've said this to my clients that are able-bodied. Like, let people know you're going through it.
I agree.
I'm a big fan of disclaimers for everything. Like, not even just emotional things. Like, I will just tell you some shit that you don't need to know, that you didn't ask for, because might as well.
This is the information you're getting from me today.
That is my disclaimer for anyone watching. I will tell you some random shit that you didn't ask for.
Yeah. So let's going into like our 3 conversation starters. So when you don't want to talk about your disability, you kind of want to navigate them away from that, especially when you're dealing with people that are not always seeing you. Sometimes they can just kind of, they lower their voice and they lower their face to you, and it just becomes a very like somber, sad conversation, I hate those. I'm just like, oh, I already know what's coming, and even no matter how I'm feeling, this is kind of a response that's not always the best, but I'm just like, I get very defensive with that because I appreciate my life so much now. And I feel like I have such a purpose with my disability, and I feel like I'm striving so much with it. And so, of course, there's negatives, but I don't like when that's the first thing that people see when they look at me, So I'll automatically switch the conversation and be like, yeah, that was super sad. Hated that. But now I'm on this road. This is what I'm doing now. Like I'm starting school. I completed the BBS program, or I went to the Rolex experience event, like tell them about events that you're doing, moments that you had that make you proud of who you are today, how you feel like you've grown over the last year. Like, oh, I actually started therapy, and I started reading some self-help books, and I feel like I'm really growing a lot and I'm doing good, Of course, you don't have to be fake. I also throw in like, I have my bad days. The shit sucks, right? It's not easy. But I also have learned how to keep on going despite my disability, So that's kind of where my little reroute goes. What about you, Ashley and Nikki? What are your 3 conversation starters for this year when people are getting on your damn nerves?
3 go-to conversation starters. I don't know. I feel like that's just talk to me like you used to. Like sometimes I feel like people just assume like once you're disabled that like all you do now is like the disabled things that come with being disabled. And it's like, no, I still have a life outside of my disability. Like I'm just happen to be disabled now.
And
I don't know why that's such a hard concept to grasp sometimes, but just treat us like we're humans.
Again, I think that goes back to people are uncomfortable. It's not
exactly right.
And they can't. I feel like it's uncomfortable for people to see that you're okay like that because they can't imagine that they would be okay like that.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it.
That is golden.
That's how I
100%.
look at it.
Somebody write that shit down. Quote.
Yes.
Oh.
That was a good one.
Wait, what? I'm like, what time is it? It's 3:51. Okay, Sean, you know what's up. Record that.
No, that is a great statement. It was a great statement. They're uncomfortable, and that even goes back to like why people leave us in the beginning because they're so uncomfortable that they can't even be around you because they can't fathom it because it messes with their head so much, and like that's their journey. At the end of the day, it's their journey. I realize like not everybody can be on this journey with me. Not everybody understands it, and I have to be okay with that. I kind of claim ownership over people, and I want them to be as understanding as me, as loyal as me, as educated about disability as me. The reality is they're not. I'm kind of expecting too much out of people sometimes, and I need to like lower my expectations, and also give my flowers to the people who I do care about in my life and who do appreciate me and who do change their language and who are there for me. Like those are the ones I need to focus on, not all the people that refuse to understand because they're dealing with their own journey. They have their own issues and their problems that they're going through, so don't always think that it's you. That's definitely something that you need to remember. Yeah. And then another thing I thought when Ashley was talking is like going to talk about like your favorite books or your favorite podcast that you're listening to right now. I think that's a great go-to, just reminding them, hey, I do things outside of my disability, or I think that's a great conversation starter. What about you, Maya? You have tons of things going on. What do you kind of direct these people to?
So for me, I'm always like, well, okay, let me back up. When people are, talking about my disability and what I'm going through, and they like start to feel sorry for me, I kind of turn the conversation and like say, this disability actually saved my life. Like I was deep into drug addiction before I became disabled, and it wasn't until I got injured and woke up in the hospital and created an entire new outlook on my life and dedicated my life to advocating for other people, and then I turn it into like, depending on who they are, because if it's at a family gathering and it's like political and there's two different sides of the family, like that can just get messy, and that I want to avoid, because those are the conversations that I will like get pissed off on. Like those are the ones I haven't really figured out the best coping mechanisms there, because I'm just like, what the fuck is wrong with you?
Oh my.
But so I try to turn it around with that, with talking about how my disability has actually improved my life so much, and then going into like, I was able to start a coalition, like I am 2 years into being on the Rolette's dance team, and we host an event every year that helps over 250 women and children with disabilities, and those are things that I would have never been able to do or wanted to do or thought about doing. And I'm not only making myself happy, but I'm really like helping change the lives and outlooks of other people, and that is probably more powerful than what you're doing. No, I'm just kidding. But
Just kidding, but
No,
serious.
I'm kidding, I'm not.
Thank you so much, Ben, for our super sticker. We really appreciate it. He said
Cheers.
wanted to stop in and show support to my literal family. Thank you so much. We
Hey,
appreciate
thanks.
it. Yes, that's great, Maya, and that's a great affirmation to remind yourself too. Like, I am doing a lot. I am making a difference. Like my words matter, like that focus point. I try to remind myself and other people in our community, like everything you say is amplified. Everything that comes out of your mouth, people are paying extra attention to, whether you like it or not. So you get to decide what you get to do with that. You get to decide how you want to use your words, how you want to use your voice, who you want to be, what impact you want to make on this world. Not only with the world, but with your friends and family. I've definitely seen my friends and family's mindsets change over the years because mine has. You'd be surprised what that can do by them just observing you, and you sticking to your guns and you doing what you're supposed to be doing, and like believing in yourself. So it's a beautiful experience. We don't always get it, of course, and that's just going to keep us pushing. And we come across these people to make us stronger. I feel like every encounter matters. You have to think, what is your lesson out of this encounter, whether it's triggering or not? What can I learn from this? How can I do better? Those are great questions to ask yourself, because why not take the opportunity to grow and learn? So that's why I would say that. So we kind of already talked about our go-to responses, like just kind of like dealing with these ableist family members and just kind of dismissing them. And I mean, if you're in the fighting mood, by all means, fight. But for some reason, I feel like for the holidays, I really try my best, like not to really go into those educational issues with people. It's because it's not the time. I own my space. That's a big one. I own my space. I know what I'm going in there to do. I know what I'm capable of doing. I know when I need to be assertive and ask for help. I know I have to keep on reminding myself throughout the day that I got this. It's just going to be one of those things. Maya is hilarious.
Yes.
yeah,
Good.
man, I'm just really passionate today, y'all.
We love it.
Period. We love that energy.
Yes, it matters. So yeah, we talked about a lot, just kind of reminding yourself these things are important. Dealing with these people can be frustrating. You got this, you matter. Any last words from you guys? You guys have anything to say for people dealing with family members this holiday season?
So I didn't answer the last question, and the only recommendation I can make is like, for me, the therapist comes out and I always flip the script, right? So someone's like, oh, I know you went through this really difficult time. I remember da da da. I go, yeah, I just heard her husband left her, and how's that going for you guys? And just like flip the script on them, and because people love talking about themselves too, so that's always a good way to transition, just to flip it and put it back on them. So like, how's your life going? Or, I heard you just accomplished this, or, but I think that's what I do. I mean, for the most part, I spend most of the holidays with close family members, and I think it's more like what Maya said. We're all talking about like politics and topics that are more extreme than our disability. But I've also been disabled 12 years. So I will say, for you girls that haven't been disabled as long, you spend enough holidays like this, and after a while, like, I know for me, my disability doesn't really come up anymore,
Yeah, I feel you. I think that's a great tip, like to switch it and just to talk about them, and also to be open minded. Because sometimes I find myself like with what they're saying, I need to be like, let me listen to the gossip and let me like just be invested in what you're saying. Not take anything offensive, because sometimes when they're complaining about their life, I'm just like, oh my God, like I want to be preachy almost. Like, I want to like tell them like, get it together. It's going to be okay. Like, and kind of like snap them out of place. Like I get a little frustrated, but I need to realize that everybody has their own pain. Everybody has their own struggles. Everybody's dealing with what they're dealing with. What can I do and what can I say right now to not make them feel offended or feel judged? What can I do to like provide some type of support in their life, something positive in their life right now? What can I say to make a positive outcome out of the situation? And that's not just for holidays. I find myself having to do that a lot in my life.
Yeah. I'm a therapist, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's funny because I'm a therapist in my office, but then like I can't even get in an Uber without someone telling me their life story. I can't be in an elevator. I can't be like, people want to, but I mean, I'm very open to life. Yeah.
No, I feel that. And I almost feel like more open to strangers than I am like with my family members and close friends. Like if they're complaining about something like for too long, or if I'm like, every time I talk to them, they're just like complaining about something, or they're just like irritated, I'm just like, like look at the little blessings, like I almost want to snap at them and like tell them like, get it together. Like, because I know life can be so difficult, but it depends on you. I have to remind myself that not everybody has this disability. Not everybody went through the growth and experiences that I went through, and like learned these lessons. And like I didn't know until I knew. What'd you say, Nikki?
I'd be saying the same thing. I was agreeing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just important thing to remind yourself throughout these holidays and these gatherings with family members. So I think that's all that we have. Okay, I think we're good. We went through all the questions. We're good. Let me talk about our sponsors really quick before we end the show. Mobility professionals and urology professionals are our go-to companies, man. They just really have been supporting us and really see our vision. And we're looking for any other companies that do see our vision and want to be their platform presented onto our platform, and just kind of help each other out, support one another. Make sure to message up. We're always looking for that. Also, if you're in the LA area or California, Southern California, we are doing an event on December 3rd. It's going to be a fundraiser. We're going to have a dinner. We're going to have some games. We're going to get together. It's going to be a big party. So we're definitely doing that for Live to Roll. If you're interested in buying a ticket, make sure to message us as soon as possible. We only have a limited amount of 25 tickets. So message us soon. Get yours. You want to be there. Trust me, it's going to be a really fun time. Hey, you guys. Love you all. This was a good conversation.
Bye. Happy day.
Bye.